every single day on The View is a contest in stupidity. Truly, it's an amazingly competitive match between some of the dumbest people on earth. No one really notices on a given day that Whoopi Goldberg is a very dumb person who says very dumb things because everybody else is so dumb on The View that she's constantly outshone. She seems like the most sane person on The View, which is kind of an amazing statement. Trying to suss out which person on The View is least intelligent is an exercise in quantum mechanics.
What do you get when a lightning-fast logic machine collides with a wall of eye rolls? You get Ben Shapiro turning Whoopi Goldberg's red-hot opinion into a frozen block of disaster, live and unfiltered. The internet didn't just react, it erupted. From her blank stares to his brutal logic bombs, this wasn't just a conversation, it was a crash between courtroom heat and daytime drama. And trust us, Shapiro didn't just win the moment. He left Whoopi so mentally wrecked she might need a week off just to recover. Buckle up, because it's about to get wild.
Whoopi Goldberg, she of the genius sort of sage presence on The View.
Thanks.
She's like, I'm not saying that maybe white people need to get beaten up for police reform to happen, but maybe white people need to get beaten up for police reform to happen.
But how many times do we need to see white people also get beaten before anybody will do anything?
Okay, so first of all, this is unbelievably stupid.
Yep.
We've seen many, many cases of police brutality against white people.
So now picture the scene. Daytime TV drenched in pastel colors, a jittery panel of hosts, and an audience clapping like wind-up toys every time someone drops a trendy progressive buzzword. And right in the middle, Whoopi Goldberg, seated like the reigning queen of chaos, flinging her opinions like royal decrees. Everything was cozy in this echo chamber of applause and recycled mantras. Until the air shifted. Suddenly, in walks Ben Shapiro, a rapid-fire truth cannon ready to tear through the nonsense. Just look at how it all began.
Well, folks, as you know, I love one show on TV more than any show on TV. The View. I've had a lifelong ambition to actually be a guest on The View. They'll never have me on, of course, because it would go horribly for them. But today, we're going to go through some of the cringiest moments from The View, a repository of nearly all human stupidity, total IQ 7.
Imagine it. The View. That cozy little bubble where emotions reign, feelings get paraded as facts, and brunch-worthy wisdom is sold like sacred scripture. But off-screen? Ben Shapiro was circling like a hawk ready to strike. This is the guy who fires off statistics like missiles and speaks faster than a squirrel on espresso. No, he wasn't seated at the table. He didn't need to be. He was dismantling their arguments from a distance with surgical precision, the kind that never lets a single flawed claim slip by unpunished.
She's trying to make an anti-Trump argument. She's like, I can say anything I want. And she's like, I'm going to say something super racist. They're all like, yeah. Well, apparently her hair was not her only bad decision that day.
The Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race.
No, it's about a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
No!
That's what it's about.
Dropping Ben Shapiro onto the View set would be like tossing a Rubik's Cube into an art class that only finger paints. Sure, they're in the same studio, but no one has a clue how to handle it. Whoopi marched in with recycled hashtags and emotion-fueled monologues armed with vibes instead of facts. Then came Ben, storming in with cold, hard history and a debate style so sharp he could recite the entire Constitution before the others even finished their opening lines. It wasn't just awkward, it was a total intellectual collision.
On who you talk to. Whoopi, always available to sign in.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
To both compare Israel and the United States to terrorist organizations and also compare terrorist organizations to apparently not terrorist organizations. Like, Hamas is not a terrorist organization? Oh, man. It is amazing because Whoopi is sort of seen on this show as sort of the wise old sage. And I have to say, you need better sages.
This wasn't a discussion. It was a philosophical ambush. Whoopi opened with a wild rant that sounded like a mix of abstract poetry and a sci-fi rerun, flinging spaghetti-like sentences at the wall of reality. None of it stuck. I feel like something's wrong, so clearly something is wrong, she insisted, as if emotion alone could rewrite truth. Her co-hosts leaned in like loyal backup dancers, nodding on cue. But then Ben blinked. Twice. He stared through the fog and simply said, "Actually," and that was the moment the wrecking began. He didn't just disagree, he destroyed. Ben sliced through her confusion like a blindfolded brain surgeon, unleashing receipts faster than a librarian on a caffeine binge. Whoopi looked stunned, eyes darting, logic spiraling, trapped like a hamster dodging lightning.
So Whoopi Goldberg was on that great repository of all human intelligence, The View, and she was explaining that people who are not using masks are going to make things more dangerous for themselves. She's talking about how the mask will protect you from the flu. Oh, Lord. Here we go.
Well, no, you know.
Well, you did have that.
I did have a cough, and when you did not show up, Brian goes, "Thanks, Whoopi's out."
Well, I assume that is because when you have little ones, you will always have things that you travel with. So as people will tell you, yeah, take off your mask, don't worry about it, we're not going to check it anymore. Just know the flu
is still
will fly in. Yeah. Okay, because the flu flew in and got me.
Okay, so I'm just going to point out here that the entire narrative on the mask was about COVID. And now they're you should probably wear a mask because if you take off the mask, the flu will fly in.
To her credit, Whoopi tried to strike back, raising her voice as if louder meant smarter. When that flopped, she dropped her signature move. Well, I just think. In Whoopi's world, that's supposed to be the knockout punch. Say it loud enough and maybe the facts will disappear, right? But Ben didn't flinch. He countered with airtight footnotes, smug precision, and an avalanche of economic theories that left everyone dazed. The soul of the argument seemed to float right out of the room. Off to the side, Joy Behar stared blankly, like someone asked her to solve calculus in Greek. The audience laughed, but not because it was funny. No, it was the nervous kind of laughter, the kind people give when they're totally lost but too embarrassed to admit it. Whoopi clung to her emotional raft while Ben rained cold, sharp facts down like an unforgiving storm. And what made it sting even more, it wasn't just that Ben was right, it's that he came locked and loaded.
We saw Whoopi Goldberg over the weekend suggest that Nikki Haley is not a new generation. How can you say she's a new generation? Whoopi Goldberg is 67 years old. Nikki Haley is 51 years old. Donald Trump is nearing 80. Joe Biden is 80. So yeah, technically speaking, she is in fact a new generation, but here's Whoopi Goldberg speaking for the youth of America.
Now that's what they're saying, suddenly. Everybody said, oh yeah, it should reflect all of us. Okay.
Then came the most savage moment. The silence. That breath-snatching pause when Whoopi froze mid-sentence, her mental gears grinding loud enough to echo. She searched desperately for a way out. It was like watching dial-up internet trying to load a high-def video. Slow, painful, and totally exposed. Meanwhile, Ben sat there, smirking like a cat that already raided the treat jar. And when the silence finally dropped, it was electric. Then boom! The memes exploded. Twitter went nuclear as people realized the unthinkable. Maybe, just maybe, facts don't take orders from feelings. Screenshots flew like bullets. Whoopi's logic unraveled, and even Instagram couldn't resist piling on. But the internet didn't stop there. They dug up her greatest hits, that bizarre historical blunder, that wild economics explanation, all resurfaced like a haunted house of bad takes. Still, Whoopi had one last shield, the mainstream media. And they came rushing in, pumping out think pieces faster than game show contestants buzz in crying, why Whoopi's emotional truth still matters. Oh, the spin was dizzying.
This was taken as anti-Semitism. She didn't say the Jews weren't specifically targeted, by the way. She didn't actually say an anti-Semitic thing the way that Whoopi Goldberg did. She just said that when people are inhumane to each other, bad things happen. For this great crime, she was not suspended. She was fired outright from The Mandalorian, losing presumably hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary because she was one of the main characters and they were considering a spinoff of The Mandalorian with Gina. They fired Gina, so we hired her, right? We have a new movie that's coming out with Gina Carano in the next couple of months, which I'm excited to tell you about. Okay, but they fired her outright, did Disney. Whoopi Goldberg says something far worse in every respect than Gina Carano ever said about the Holocaust. And she's going to get a 2-week suspension.
Meanwhile, Ben was on a logic high, cool as ever, sipping his cold brew like a philosopher judging a spelling bee. While everyone else doodled emotional daydreams, he calmly delivered facts like legal evidence in court. But the real gut punch wasn't the argument. It was the silence that followed. A heavy, awkward, soul-piercing stillness so intense even the studio lights seemed confused. The crowd didn't know whether to clap, cry, or reboot the entire broadcast. Even the poor applause sign operator gave up and went for coffee. That silence carved a line in the sand between talkers and thinkers. While Whoopi's side crumbled into chaos, Ben stood firm, stacking truth like a courtroom veteran. Then came her desperate follow-up. Whoopi, still stunned, tried to clean up the mess, but only made it worse. Her response? A scrambled mix of emotions and foggy logic. Well, I felt like what I said was valid because it felt valid at the time. That's the verbal equivalent of returning a toaster because your bagel got its feelings hurt. Ben didn't even blink. He just casually name-dropped Aristotle and sent a digital footnote nobody asked for. He was basically walking Wi-Fi-powered Wikipedia, smug and unstoppable. And this time, it landed perfectly.
Never look for consistency with the left. It is all just a game of power. In any case, Goldberg apparently is livid and feels humiliated over the suspension. She feels ABC executives mishandled this. She followed their playbook. She went on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert and then apologized again on The View the next day, the source told the Post. Her ego has been hurt. She's telling people she's going to quit. Suspension from The View is like getting suspended from Bravo. The bar is very low. Prior to her suspension, sources that spoke with Page Six said that employees and executives, including insiders at Disney, were furious over her remarks and the fact she had not been disciplined yet.
The internet crowned Ben the undisputed champ, not because he's perfect, but because Whoopi walked in swinging glitter and feelings and walked out dazed, confused, and speechless. Sure, Shapiro isn't everyone's cup of tea. Some call him smug, robotic, like he's racing a buzzer on a trivia show, but when your opponent opens with, "I feel like this is true," suddenly he sounds like Socrates rising from the grave. This wasn't a debate, it was a demolition. Whoopi's entire argument got shredded like tissue in a tornado. Her co-hosts looked shell-shocked. One even blurted out, "Let's just agree to disagree," which is TV code for "Please stop using facts, you're ruining our brunch segment." And the aftermath? Shapiro's YouTube clip exploded with views, more than The View pulled all week. Sure, that's not hard to beat, but still, it sealed his win. The show awkwardly rolled into its next segment, something about zodiac signs, because of course it did. But Ben wasn't done. He followed up with a podcast breakdown like a coach reviewing a slow-motion replay. He flagged every inconsistency, cited rulings like closing arguments, and somewhere you just know, Whoopi was lighting sage and whispering to Oprah for mercy.
Whoopi Goldberg, yesterday, she did her full apologies. You'll remember that 2 days ago, Whoopi Goldberg went on The View and she suggested that the Holocaust was not about race. And this tied into a broader ideology of the left, which suggests that Jews are white people, and therefore the Holocaust was actually white people attacking white people, which is a thing she actually said on air. Then she went on Stephen Colbert, where she quasi-apologized and then doubled down and suggested once again that the Holocaust was not about racism because it was white people attacking other white people. She issued a written statement. The written statement came out before the Colbert appearance, but probably was written after she had taped for Colbert already. In any case, she came out on the air yesterday, and then she did her fulsome apology.
In the end, this wasn't just a TV debate. It was a brutal masterclass in what happens when applause is mistaken for truth, when your entire worldview runs on feelings instead of facts. All it takes is one sharp mind to bring the whole fantasy crashing down. That's exactly why this moment went viral. It wasn't just about Ben being right. It was about watching someone walk into a chess match with finger puppets and still expect to win. Let this be a warning. If your argument begins with, "I feel like," somewhere out there, Ben Shapiro is already cracking his knuckles, ready to turn your emotional speech into a logic-smashing wreck. And then it hit. That silence, so loud it could vacuum the noise out of a jet engine. Whoopi, the proud preacher of woke soundbites, ran out of steam right in front of a national audience. 5 full seconds of blinking, buffering, and searching for a thought that never came. Ben just sat there, cool and smug, like a cat who already knocked over the vase and is daring you to react. As the camera zoomed in, you could practically hear the co-host's inner panic. Joy Behar looked frozen, Sarah Haynes was scanning for exits, and Sunny Hostin suddenly realized she backed the wrong horse in a very public disaster. Then Ben dropped the final blow. No applause needed. The View aged 10 years in 10 minutes. This wasn't just a takedown. It was a logic lesson drenched in sarcasm and soaked in truth. And if you show up to a battle of facts armed only with vibes, you're not just going to lose, you're going to walk away humiliated.
Listen, take him seriously and take him literally.
I don't think that we have to. I think it would be remiss of us to not say Joe Biden knows how to do this.
Yes.
He knows how to do this. He's quite good at this. And you know, you can't refute anything with him because he just, when I say him, I mean
he rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just
But can I mention one thing?
Whoopi's track record isn't just shaky, it's a runaway train of controversy with no breaks in sight. And this isn't the kind of chaos people rewatch for fun. This is the kind that makes you gasp and say, did she really just say that? From jaw-dropping historical blunders to tone-deaf takes on serious issues, Whoopi's wild opinion buffet has become infamous for all the wrong reasons. Remember the shocker when she said the Holocaust wasn't about race? That wasn't a misstep, it was a complete detour from reality. Or the time she boldly claimed that black people can't be racist the same way others can? Oh! Whoopi, the queen of unsayable lines, delivered with the force of a tornado stuffed inside a teacup. At this point, her name trends weekly, not for brilliance, but for broadcast disasters. Even her own fans brace themselves every time she opens her mouth, like watching someone light fireworks indoors with no fire extinguisher in sight. And then we flip the camera. Ben Shapiro. Sure, he's smug. Sure, not everyone loves his tone. But when he's in full debate mode, he's not a troll. He's a guided missile of facts. And this time, he hit bullseye. Ben didn't argue, he dissected, documented, and destroyed. His style? Calm, clinical, laced with digital footnotes and unstoppable logic. Meanwhile, Twitter went into party mode, celebrating Whoopi's blank stare like a national holiday. You can hate Ben's delivery, but you can't deny the impact. That stunned, frozen pause from Whoopi wasn't just awkward, it was a full public surrender. Watching her sit there, lost and holding a map to nowhere, was the cherry on top. And when the camera caught the stunned faces of her co-hosts, it felt like the sitcom turned into a slow-motion disaster reel. But Ben wasn't done. He delivered one final line, slow and lethal, like a mic drop hurled from Mount Olympus. That last sentence, it crushed whatever argument Whoopi had left and left her rebuttal floating in the same empty space as her logic, completely missing in action.